The Racing Post cast in association with Paddy Power. They stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC.
It's gone. We've got to wait another year for Royal Ascot, but it was so good that we're going to devote this weekend review postcast to looking back at 5 sensational days. It really, really was very special. I'm Bruce Millington, delighted to be joined by Nick Watts and Tom Siegel, my Racing Post colleagues, and also from Paddy Power, we've got the Duke, as they used to say in Midnight Run. It's Brendan Duke. We will be looking back on who won out of the punters and the bookies, picking the bones out the best performances and trying to give you a few horses to load up your Racing Post horse tracker so that you can make some profit out of our ramblings in the future. Let's start off though with highlights of the week. From an equine and racing perspective, Nick Watts, what was your golden moment?
I think Alderus St George winning the Gold Cup as I hoped he would do. I thought that was an amazing performance. It didn't go all his way during the race. He was hemmed in at various stages, but once he was given a bit of daylight, he really powered up that home straight. And I won't say too much about him now because I think we're coming on to him later. But for me, on the week, that was a big result for me.
Excellent, wasn't it? Tom, you tipped really well last week. I mean, I know that you're always a glass half empty kind of guy when you're reviewing these things because you hit the bar so often. I hope the cat or the greyhound rather at home isn't too bruised. But you did well. You covered yourself in glory. What was your moment of the week?
From an equine point of view, Bruce, undoubtedly Caravaggio. I thought he was sensational. I think we're coming on, a bit like Nick just said, we're coming on to him in a minute. But, there was at the start of the week, it seemed to me like being on that far side was a big help. And the fact that he could make up 10 lengths and still win easily, I thought was just about the best two-year-old performance I've ever seen at Ascot.
He won on both sides of the track, didn't he, basically?
Tremendous. I don't think I've ever seen a performance like that.
No, it's good,
I don't think I've ever seen a performance like that at Royal Ascot from a two-year-old.
What can he perform? What can he go on to achieve, do you think?
Well, looking at that, you'd think a mile would not be a problem. I know before the race they were tossing up between the Norfolk and the Coventry because they were worried about stamina. He's by Scat Daddy. There has to be a doubt about him staying. And if we go back 12 months and everyone was talking about Air Force Blue, definitely stay a mile. He never did he? He's now dropped back to 6 furlongs. I'd be worried about him in the staying a mile, but he's a brilliant racehorse, isn't he?
Yeah, he's gone from Air Force Blue to Air Force Who, which is sad.
Yeah.
So there is a warning there with these things, but we do hope that Caravaggio will be a champ. Someone's playing the tambourine in the background. Who was that?
That was my dog.
Oh, was
she
it?
came in and shook herself.
Oh, is she quite wet? My dog does that when she's been out for a walk. It's chucking
She just
it down,
come in from a walk, yeah, and she's wet and she's got 2 tags on.
Oh, blimey. Yeah. Okay, Brendan, did you enjoy the week?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's the best week of the year. So
what, better than Cheltenham, you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't even sound like you're prepared to debate that. I mean, you just...
No, it's certain, isn't it?
Well, I prefer flat racing, so it would be for me. I suppose it depends on which side of the fence you're on. The fence? I don't know.
Yeah, very good. We got that. Do you come over for it, Brendan, or are you hard at it at work?
No, I don't, but because I was worried about dress codes.
Oh, of course, you don't even own a necktie, so you got no chance in the monocle-infested world of Royal Ascot, have you?
Well, I thought you had to wear a top hat to get to the parade ring because the parade ring is my milieu.
No, you do not. I'd say
not at all.
I'd say probably about a quarter of it is Royal Enclosure and the rest you can stand. And it gets very quiet, to be honest, towards the end of the day. It's quite busy when the old jelly bean is coming in, but then it thins out. So, no, the Royal Ascot Parade Ring is absolutely made for you. So you get yourself over next year, OK?
I will. I was talking to Ronan about this and he explained it to me and he said the Queen Anne Enclosure is the spot for you and he's even threatened to hook me up with some half-price tickets, so I have absolutely no excuse.
No way.
Who's done that?
Ronan, who filled your shoes for one of these.
Oh, I see. Well, since when's Ronan got an angle on the tickets? It's Ronan Ronan that. No, I've done a postcard.
We love Ronan now,
yeah,
don't we?
Bloody Ronan, all right.
I've said too much. We'll all be friends in the Queen Anne Enclosure next year.
Good, OK, well, let's make a date for that one. What about from Paddy Power's perspective, talking corporately? Did you win absolute fortunes? Has the share price gone even higher?
No, I'm afraid not. It was a week for the punters. We had a good day. We had a good day on Friday. Other than that, we were doing our brains. Fillies and mares in particular, actually. Evensong was a blowout. That Jenny's Jewel was no good. Usherette, Lady Aurelia. We had a bit of a mare.
God, blimey, you're full of them today, aren't you? Did you get that one, Nick? They had a mare.
They did, yeah. It's very good, very good.
But then we slightly dodged a bullet on the Saturday, because if Ryan was a better subject and had ridden the old Jelly Beans horse, we'd have been in an awful state with run-ups, but luckily he jumped ship.
O'Reilly, you certainly would do, wouldn't you? And one more thing, when you traders sit down on the Monday or whenever you debrief, Paddy Desmond's the man in charge of all the traders. Are bollockings issued and great big stewards and fingers being jabbed in people's chests? You sound pretty calm about it all, considering it didn't all go to plan.
Well, I mean, you have to try and learn from it and move on, as the corporate speak goes. Although I wonder, do I ever learn from anything, Bruce? I'm like one of those lab rats that keeps getting electrocuted. Every year, I remind myself at the end of Royal Ascot, just follow Aidan, just follow Aidan. He's a remarkable man. I mean, last year you had that Waterloo Bridge, scrambles home and some wretched tip made, and 2 weeks later wins the Norfolk. This year, Sword Fighter beating out the gap.
He was banging in 33-1 winners, wasn't it? What's going on?
And it was the fourth string, Brendan. It was been quite hard to find, even if you were following him. You've had to have fewer bets in that race.
But what I'm saying is, Tom, I forget every year just how reliable he is. I know he's the best facilities and the best horses, but every single year he has these horses at concert pitch for this week. So he's a remarkable man.
OK, so your betting takeout this year, Brendan, would be follow Aidan, would it?
Yeah, so remind me of that now.
I will do, I will remember that. Nick, what's your betting takeout on a kind of general perspective, would you say?
God, I'd agree with Brendan. I mean, I found it hard last week. I didn't have a particularly fantastic week. And
you've just had the expense of the wedding as well, haven't you?
I just had a wedding expense, yes, and honeymoon as well.
No, it's all going wrong.
I could have done with Kiwi sticking his head out a bit further in the Ascot Stakes, because I had a lovely bet on him. But Tom, you're saying that, but you're on the winner, so it's not real shame, is it?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, there's no sympathy there whatsoever. So you're going to be following Aidan as well. I always remember to do daily each way Tom Siegel multiples, and that stood me in very good stead this week, because although he boringly only ever tips 1 point win on everything, we all know that there is scope in doing each ways with them. Tom, what's your betting takeout from the week?
Jockeys, hold up jockeys on that straight track, Bruce. Every time we watch those straight track races, someone sits out the back and does really well. I mean, I know Portage won the Hunt Cup from a prominent ride, but I thought he was really lucky to beat Mitcham Swagger and Labrisa Breeze. So I like hold-up jockeys, the George Bakers, the Jamie Spencers, the Ryan Moores, the guys with patience on that straight track.
Dougie Costello.
Dougie Costello.
No, he
perfect
had the best
ride.
Horse, but it was terrific, that, wasn't it?
Perfect ride. All those sort of... I think it's really hard to force the pace. I know Lady Aurelia did it, but she was just a complete freak. But the rest of them, I think, just get a bit of a patient jockey and you're laughing.
OK, let's talk milers, Nick. Galileo Gold, Tepin, Kemar, Usherette, they all ran really, really well, didn't they? Which one would you most be interested in from a kind of forward-looking perspective? And obviously Ribchester as well. I know it's 7 furlongs in the jersey, but it looked very good as well, didn't he? So a lot of food for thought from a miling perspective, wasn't there? Yeah,
there really was. And in Galileo Gold's case, there was a lot of food for thought, because was he the best, horse in the race, or was he just given the best ride by Frankie? And the guys on Ortad and the Gurkha maybe were sleeping a little bit and gave him a head start. I'd be interested to see them have a rematch again. I think probably the long-term prospect, the Gurkha might be the best of them. I thought Tepin was really good, just from a kind of worldwide perspective. I think it'll encourage more Americans to come over. And, it was a really brave performance. I thought when Bilardo got to her quarters, and we knew that Bilardo would go on that ground, that he would go on and win. But Tepin found more. And, I think that's just important for the future of Ascot. I think it'll encourage more worldwide presence there. And Usherette, very impressive again. I don't know where she's going next. Maybe the Falmouth Stakes, is it? But she looked very, very good. Won her race very easily. So loads of question marks to be thrown up. I thought Galileo Gold's race was the most interesting one for the future, and I'm interested to know what the guys thought about that. But I thought the Gurkha was the one to take out of it, and a rare kind of blip for Ryan Moore.
OK, well, Brennan, give us some kind of forward-looking prices on some of the mile races, maybe the Sussex and whatever else we've got.
Sure, OK, well, we'd start off maybe. Right, OK, so the Sussex Galileo Gold is 2-1 fav, the Gurkha 3-1.
I was hoping you were going to say the Gurkha there, but no.
Yeah.
Let me down. OK.
Poor show. 4-1 Tepin, in other news.
Tepin.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that really works because you got a TT. Well, anyway, 6-1 Bilardo, 8-1 Autad and Minding, and 10's Bar.
So it's going to be a really good Sussex, isn't it? And who would you be siding with at the moment? I'm kind of surprised that Galileo Gold is so much shorter than the Gurkha there. Who'd you like, Brendan?
Well, perhaps that's a factor in the Gurkha might step up and go for the Eclipse. Although Deauville might be going for the Eclipse as well. But I would say if they did run, the Gurkha would be fab. But Galileo Gold is running, so that's factored into the price.
That's true because of his gene test. He can't go for anything else. He's only got mile races, isn't he? Tom, no, hang on a sec. Before we do that, what about the Falmouth, Brendan? How are you betting on that? I should imagine.
Don't worry about it, Brendan. The Usherette, forget the rest.
Usherette will be short, won't she?
Forget the rest.
Well, yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. She is short. She's 4-6, 6-1 Kima, 8-1 Arvegia Minding, 10-1 Amazing Maria Nemeralia, and 12-1 Bar.
Righto, Tom, pick the bones out of that lot.
Usherette's the best, but Amazing Maria is a horse I'm definitely keeping on side, Bruce. Far too soft for her in the Queen Anne this season. Queen Anne at the start of the day, first race of the week, I thought she ran a blinder. She sort of chased the pace and was bang there a furlong out. Ground was all wrong for her. She must have fast ground. She won the Falmouth last year. I think that was 10-1. I heard there. That would be one of those ones where I'll probably have 1 point win on it and see it finish second to Usherette. But that would be my bet.
We've all backed her each way, so you're the only one who's bothered.
Exactly.
What about Sussex? Who wins that?
I think the Gurkha will definitely run there. I don't think there's any chance he'll run in the Eclipse. I think they'll want to get their revenge. I think it's interesting, though. I don't think there's that much between them. We saw in the Irish Guineas, Autad got first run and beat Galileo Gold. I think during the week, Galileo got first gold and beat Autad and the Gurkha. I think it's just a matter. I don't really think there's that much between them. I think who turns up, who gets the best ride on the day, and Goodwood's tricky track. Wouldn't be surprised if Galileo Gold, confirmed it. I think his sort of run style suits there better, but we'll see.
Nick Watts, a quick Sussex tip?
I'd go with the Gurkha. I think I wouldn't say he was unlucky last week. I just don't think it was Ryan Moore's finest hour. I think if he rode the race again, he'd be a bit closer to Frankie. And I think he's the one that's got most improvement in him. Galileo Gold's had a very hard season already, so if he can keep this going through the summer, he's got a great constitution.
Okay, let's talk Order of St George. I mean, is he just one of these horses that he'll go and win a kind of limited range of stayers races and he'll always dominate in this, or is he the sort of horse who, in a soft ground arc, could actually be a contender, Nick?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you just said, Bruce. I remember a horse, I think it was in 2005, Westerner, who won the Ascot Gold Cup, and he very, very nearly won a soft ground arc. I think it was just Hurricane Run was too good for him that day, but I see Order of St George as a very similar type of horse. I wouldn't say he needs 2.5 miles. I think he's got much more class than that, and we saw him over 1.6 miles last season. He was devastating. I think he's got enough speed to go back to 1.5 miles. I'm not sure the King George is the right race for him. If it was really firm ground at Ascot in the middle of summer, he might not beat Postponed then, but give him a break, bring him back in the autumn. Might be a bit softer come Arc Day. I think he's a massive player over 1.5 miles, definitely.
Tom, what do you think of Order?
I love him, Bruce.
It's great, isn't it? Because that was really thrilling. To see a stayer quicken away like that was devastating, wasn't it?
I think the point we've got to make here is, I know Brendan touched on it earlier, it's the brilliance of Aidan O'Brien.
Well
Bruce.
done there for saying touched on rather than alluded to. People say alluded to far too often on these things.
See,
we're going to
I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
You're a total pro. It's all that practice on the morning line.
But I thought Aidan was brilliant. I think every year we have the same conversation about one of Aidan O'Brien's runners. Will he stay the trip? He's only, he's so classy over 1 mile and 2, 1 mile and 4. Will he stay? And every year they stay. It's not that easy to do. And I love the fact that it shows up all those, genetic testers, as they call them, the ones that say this horse is this horse is that, this is a miler, this is a 1.5 mile horse. It's a load of old nonsense, and Aidan proves it every single year. What's the point of training if some bloke who pulls a hair out your body is going to tell you where to run?
Well, this is it. You may as well, book the race programme from when they're foaled, hadn't you?
It's pathetic. It's absolutely ridiculous. But Aidan proves it in spades every year. I have it on good authority that the genetic testers came to him and he threw it out. He threw them out. Said, "Don't be stupid. I'm the trainer. I know what I'm doing." And I think he proved it again with Order of St George. That horse has tons of pace.
What can he do this season? And is there any way that the listeners can make money out of him?
Yeah, he's going to win the Irish St Ledger by 15 lengths like he did last year. At 1-6. And I think I couldn't agree more with Nick. I think the Arc, and we're looking around, and we've got Harzand and we've got US Army Ranger. The French horses He looked quite good, the Jean-Claude Riviere horse, but I don't think the 3-year-olds are brilliant. Bar Harzand and Order of St. George, US Army Ranger. If Order of St. George goes there, I think he's a cracking each-way bet.
Excellent. What price is Order of St. George for the Arc, Brendan?
14 to 1, Bruce.
Oh,
and
there we go.
I
happen to know that there's 2 ticks bigger elsewhere because I took advantage of it myself.
Ah, did you?
There we go.
Well, I did a little bit of research here now. I know French going descriptions. I mean, they can be works of fiction. But in the last 10 years, you've had 5 good ground arcs, 2 heavy ground arcs, 1 soft ground arc, and 2 good to soft ground arcs. Now, if it came up soft or heavy, this horse isn't far off favour for the race. And Aidan said he's not going to Melbourne, so he's got to go somewhere. And 16 to 1 looks a huge price to me.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. Okay, let's have a quick word on the sprinters. Profitable, Quiet Reflection, Twilight Sun. Really good. I mean, Mecca's was a big disappointment. So I guess we're in for a summer where the sprint division, unlike last year with Muraha, is up for grabs, isn't it, Nick? Which of those ones, or is there another sprint that you think might go on and dominate?
Yeah, I think you're right. There's not much between any of them, really. I couldn't believe it on the Tuesday. I'd given up hope on my old friend Cotai Glory completely on account of the ground and almost won the race.
Would that have got it in as well?
Bruce, he got Cotai Glory again.
I know.
It's brilliant.
In a minute,
You're
we'll
a genius,
We'll ring up David Jennings and get him to just mention Kit and Rock for no reason whatsoever. That was a good effort, that.
It was a good effort. I thought I'd nearly make Tom eat his words then
I think it's totally valid.
Challenging.
But anyway, back onto the subject. Sprinters that can go and dominate this summer, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on the ground. I mean, in the July Cup, if you've got a good to soft ground, Twilight Sun would be the one. Candy's also got Limato for fast ground, and Quiet Reflection needs it soft too. So there's a lot of variables here. I thought Magical Memory, although he was out of the frame at the weekend, I didn't think things went his way. He found himself quite a long way back, and he still showed his customary kind of spurt a couple of furlongs out. And I thought it was going to get him. He was going to do it. But obviously he took too much out of himself in getting to the hills of the leaders, and he couldn't sustain it. But I just think things didn't go his way. I don't think he broke that well either, and he's always in a bad position. He was only beaten a length, I think, in 5th, length and a half. I wouldn't rule him out at all of a July Cup or big sprint races for the remainder of the season.
It's a thrilling race, wasn't it? And it's so nice to hear the word spurt. That's not used enough in racing. When you think how much renewal is used, which is my least favourite racing word, I think spurt is entitled to feel a bit hard done by. Tom, your sprinting takeout from Royal Ascot Week?
Well, I hate to keep agreeing with you, Mr. Watts, but I thought Magical Memory is the one to take out of the race, really, of that. I mean, obviously, Profitable was good, but they all were... I'm not convinced. I think the 6 furlong race was better. I thought Magical Memory had no chance the way the race. They didn't go fast enough. Frankie sat out the back. He quickened up like they all quickened up, but he quickened up best of all, and he just got tired in the last half furlong. I think in a normal run July Cup, I think he'd beat those in front of him. So that he would be the one to take out of that race for me. Also, though, I think we've got to mention that if there was a foreigner to turn up, I don't think Gold Fun is the best of the sort of Hong Kong horses, but if a top-class Australian or foreign horse turned up, I think they'd be probably a little bit too good for ours, because I don't think ours are brilliant. And we've got to mention Lady Aurelia. If they're thinking about Molecombe and Mornay's and stuff, they've got to run it in the Nunthorpe. I love it when they run the juveniles against the older horses. I think it provides a different aspect to the whole race. Acapulco just got done last year and only came second and showed tremendous pace. It'd be brilliant if she ran in the Nunthorpe. That's where they should go.
Okay, right. July Cup betting from Paddy Power, please, Brendan.
5 to 1 Join Fav's Magical Memory and Twilight Sun. 8 to 1 Quiet Reflection. 10 to 1 brings in Danzino, Don't Touch, Limato and Undrafted, and 12 to 1 Bar.
And Brendan, I seem to remember a tweet the weekend before Royal Ascot where you said Quiet Reflection is a massive price, twice the odds she should be. So does that mean that you had a thumping good bet on her?
I did have a nice bet in her. Yeah. Stop clocks and all that. I got that one right. So that was great. But one of the main reasons I was backing her was because it was such a terrible race. Now, she travelled really well. I thought she was going to stray them in the last furlong, and she just did enough. I wasn't as impressed at the run at Haydock, but again, that Haydock race looks a poor race, so she's going to have to improve to compete with these.
Okay, dokes, let's look at the 2-year-olds.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max fee £5, 18 plus, please gamble responsibly.
Best 2-year-old performance of the week, Nick Watts.
Oh, well, I mean, we've talked about them already. Caravaggio was absolutely superb in the Coventry. Lady Aurelia, well, words fail you when you see something like that. If there's one we haven't mentioned, who maybe visually wasn't that impressive, but I was quite impressed with, was Brave Anna in the Albany. Cuff was Aidan O'Brien's first string for that, but she blew out rather. But Brave Anna, she's improving fast. Sister to Hit It a Bomb, who won in the Breeders' Cup last season. I wonder if she's heading in the same direction.
Brendan, how do you bet on the 2,000 guineas at this stage?
Well, it's 4-1 Caravaggio, 10-1 Churchill, and 20's Bar. Did any of these run? Isomers 25, Kunkoat 33, Psychedelic Funk 33 of the Also Rams and Ascot.
Okay, out of those, from a guineas perspective, Tom, would you be more interested in Caravaggio or Churchill?
Neither, really, I don't think. I don't think I want to back Caravaggio with that pedigree at that price. Churchill, the boys were telling me, the bookies were telling me that there was some interesting money around for him for the guineas before he ran, but I don't like horses that hang into the whip, Bruce. I always think there's something going on there. He hung right across the track with Moore having his whip in his left hand, and he was still hanging that way.
I think some people say it's a sign of lameness, isn't it, I believe?
Well, that's what some people say. That's what I spoke. Jason Weaver was there on Saturday, and he was telling me that in all his life riding, any horse that hung into the whip, he can't remember one that didn't have a physical issue, in the back of its, somewhere along the line afterwards. That would be worrying for me. But it's Aidan again. He's a brilliantly bred horse, Churchill. So you never know what he can do. But for me, I would think there'd be something else. There'll be something else to come. I don't think any of those ones we saw at Ascot, Caravaggio accepted. Obviously, Caravaggio can win. But at the price, I'd be looking for something else to come out the woodwork.
Yeah, we probably don't need to go guineas crazy just yet. It's 10 long months away, isn't it? What about then Lady Aurelia? Absolutely dominated. Won by half the track. Is there any, what are we gonna see from her in 1, 2, 3 years down the line? Do you think, Tom?
Probably nothing. I would imagine, just like the rest of them. It's hard to know what to say about a horse like that. It was so brilliant, so amazing that sometimes you just sit there and think, that's just incredible. Never seen anything like that. How did that happen? But she was, the time was, just ridiculously good. And she looked ridiculously good, and she should run in the Nunthorpe, and then we'll see after that, I think.
I think they're saying she won't run in the Nunthorpe, aren't they?
I know, which is a shame, isn't it?
Aren't they?
Well, that's no chance they're going to run in the Group 3 Molecombe, is there? I mean, what's the point of that? I mean, I can understand going for the Group 1
Don't
Morney.
Shoot the Messenger. That's it. Yeah, they'll go for the Morney one.
I think they should. I mean, No Nay Never did the same, didn't it? But I'd take on the elder horses. That'd be more fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Have we got any prices for Lady Aurelia at all, Brendan, for anything?
Just the Pre-Morney is actually a one-horse book. We're 4-9 Lady Aurelia, and we've nothing else in it.
Fair enough. Okay, right. Well, we'll leave Lady Aurelia to another day, and we'll talk about handicaps. Handicap performance of the week. We'll start with you, Nick Watts.
Well, much as it pains me to say it because I was on the wrong end of it, but Jenny's Jewel and Ronan Whelan, they got the fractions absolutely spot on in the Ascot Stakes to make all over 2.5 miles, and there's absolutely nothing left at the end. So you must have got those, the pace absolutely spot on. And, I was on the wrong side of it with Kiwi, but, hats off to Jarlath Fahy and Jenny's Jewel, a really, really game win.
It was really nice, actually, to see a lot of the kind of, unsung heroes and some of the lesser lights and people who don't normally bask in the Ascot spotlight get some glory this week, wasn't it, Nick? And I mean, I remember back in Jenny's Jewel at Punchestown a couple of months ago, and 50-1, and she finished second. So, it can be done, can't it? You can come from the shadows and grab a bit of glory at the big meeting, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ronan Whelan, who's back in Ireland later in the week, riding in a flat card at Limerick, and so he's kind of gone back to his kind of his day job, if you like, and you had his moment in the Sun at Royal Ascot, which was fantastic for him.
What was your point worth making, Bruce, is that as the jump trainers, isn't it? Commissioned one, the Queen Alexandra, Jenny's Jewel, Kiwi had been running over. I think they've got a massive advantage in those handicaps. Now, when we get to top level, of course, it's a bit of a struggle against Order of St. George. But in those sort of handicaps just below the top level, I think the jump horses are just tougher, stronger, fitter than the flat horse. I think they just win all of them.
Absolutely. Any handicappers there, Tom, that you were particularly taken with?
Yeah, the one I like most, and he didn't even win, Bruce, was Brando in the Wokingham. He came second to a very good horse, Outback Traveller. I think Outback Traveller will next year be a very strong fancy for the King's Stand. I think he'll drop back to 5 furlongs. I thought he was really good. But I love Brando. I think he's been incredibly unlucky this season. He should be unbeaten. He's sort of drawn away from the best pace in the Woking. He was drawn away from the best pace at York in that good sprint. Absolutely no doubt at all that he's a group class sprinter. He was one I should have said when we were talking about sprints earlier later in the season. I think he could be a Haydock Cup Sprint Cup horse easily. I'm a big fan of his. He'd be the one horse that I would have in the track above any else.
Okay, Brennan, what about you from the handicappers? Which one particularly impressed you and possibly hurt the company as well by Lanier Gamble?
Well, persuasive on both counts, I suppose.
Blimey.
She was heavily backed, and I thought she was very impressive. I mean, she's definitely a Group filly. She's potentially a Group 1 filly. It'd be interesting to see how her career progresses.
I think all the firms did their conkers on the multiples with that one, bringing home the bacon, didn't they?
Yes, was that the same day as Lady Aurelia and Usherette?
Yeah,
That was grim. That was grim.
Blimey, never mind. You had a few days to get it back, didn't you? Right, let's fill up your horse tracker. Nick, one, you can even have two horses if you like that listeners should be punching into their Racing Post horse tracker.
Yeah, two I took from Ascot. One, I know Tom's keen on it as well. It was Silver Line, who's third in the Norfolk. I think the horse needs further. It was always on the back foot a little bit, finished well, but was never quite getting there, and still finished third. I think over another furlong, maybe even a couple of furlongs, Silver Line is one to note. And Nemeralia as well. I think it wants much faster ground than it got at Ascot. So in light of that, I think that was a very good performance. If she gets rolled out on firm ground anywhere, fast ground, she could well, be a top filly in the making and reverse that form.
Thomas?
My tracker is full, Bruce. I got hundreds in there that I thought were fantastic. The two I'd pick out, Brando, I just mentioned. Bletchley, I thought, in the Albany.
Back Bletchley. That was painful.
Just drawn slightly away from them and just didn't quite get going quick enough. I think, before the race, Rafe Beckett was saying, she's not, streetwise enough. She won't be good enough for this. They'll be too knowledgeable for her. And that looked like it a bit in the race, didn't it? She took a bit of time to get going, took a bit of time to warm up. I think Oisin Murphy didn't actually realise he had a chance until a bit too late, and then he sort of went for it. But I think she's going to be a good filly at 7 furlongs for sure.
Brendan?
I thought that full intention of of Dascombe's was interesting. He won a side in the Windsor Castle. I think he was disadvantaged by the draw, and they like a 2-year-old winner at Goodwood. So maybe the Molecombe, he could be interesting for that.
Okay, excellent. We'll be back in a mo. We'll look ahead to the weekend. We'll also have a quick word on the French Oaks.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Bruce Millington, Nick Watts, Tom Siegel and Paddy Powers, Brennan Duke. We've looked back on Royal Ascot. The other highlight from the weekend that we should touch upon was the very controversial French Oaks, after which William Buick got a 15-day ban for his ride, and also another 15 days for calling all the stewards corrupt, which was not like him and very cheeky. So he's going to be having a long rest. On the racing front, La Clasonnière, tipped by Tom Siegel, got the job done. She looks pretty damn good, Nick Watts, doesn't she?
She does, yeah. She
what can she achieve?
I suppose a lot depends on how far she'll stay. I mean, she won that quite comfortably, over 1.25 miles. It'd be interesting to see what they do with her now. Horses from this race in the past have gone on to the Arc in October. So it all depends on how far she stays. I think whether she stays at this trip or whether they try and stretch her out. As for Buick, should he appeal his ban? Probably not. I think probably a bit of discretion now is called for from young William.
Tom, La Clasonnière did you a favour there. What can she go on to achieve?
Yeah, love her, Bruce.
She's good,
unbeaten.
Isn't
she? Yeah. I think if she was trained by or ridden by Christophe Soumia and owned by the Aga Khan, we'd be talking her in Zarkava terms. She's done absolutely nothing wrong, has she? She's won the Guineas and the Oaks. She was given a lot to do on Saturday.
And she caught the ripples of that trouble as well, didn't she?
She did. She was forced right round the outside. I think she's brilliant. I really do. I'd love to see her take on Minding. Be a great race, wouldn't it? I mean, we're sitting here saying Minding's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but Architecture got thrashed, Jet Setting got thrashed. Maybe we've gone slightly overboard about Minding, and let's have a crack at her with La Clasonnière. I think I would back the French filly myself.
What, over 1.5 miles or in the Eclipse?
Maybe in the Eclipse. I think Mindy's going to run in the Pretty Polly on Sunday, which counts her out of the Eclipse. But
that's a shame.
But between the two of them, I don't mind whatever trip they want to have a crack at. It'd be great to see, wouldn't it? The two, superstar fillies taking each other on.
Absolutely. Okay, the big race this weekend is the Irish Derby. Harzand and US Army Ranger, 1 and 2 at Epsom, do battle again. And Brendan Duke, how do Paddy Power bet?
Fascinating betting heat this, Bruce. 5-4 Harzand, 6-4 US Army Ranger, 6-1 Idaho, 10-1 Almanzor, and 12's Bar.
I think you've overdosed on fascinating there. I can't find it that fascinating. Interesting,
do you
for
not?
sure. Intriguing, let's say.
Intriguing. No, it's just what will go off favourite. I'm not sure what will go off favourite.
What's the terrain news?
Well, it's fierce changeable at the moment. We're getting 4 seasons in one day. So
you've been spoilt lately, haven't you, with all sorts of nice weather, I believe, haven't you, in Ireland?
Well, we had up until about 10 days ago, and then it went fierce changeable, and it's been that way ever since, and it will be until Sunday. So I'd say you're looking at yielding ground.
Well, on yielding ground, surely Harzand just wins, Nick, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the people, the US Army Ranger fans, will obviously be hoping that he's grown up from his Derby run, if you like, and he's come on sufficiently from then to beat Dermot Welltorse. But I think on, like you said, yielding soft ground, I think Harzand would be the one for me. He reminds me very much of Sindar a few years ago. He's just a real solid pro, isn't he? And he stays very well at a mile and a half, and obviously he's got all the ability going as well. I think US Army Ranger will have his work cut out to reverse the form.
Tom, are you going to try and stop me having a huge bet on Harzand?
Definitely not. I think rather than US Army Ranger, I'd be more worried about Idaho, Bruce. I thought they went talking to the sectionalistas, as I like to call them now, and the speed figure boys. They went as fast as they ever have in a derby up that hill to begin with, and Idaho was chasing the pace. He did remarkably well to stay on as well as he did. He was only a length and a half or 2 lengths behind him. I think around the Curragh, if he got off on the lead there, take a good one to get past him. So I'd be more worried about Idaho than US Army Ranger. But like you, I think Harzand's a superstar, a solid, great stayer, just like Sindar, as Nick says. I think he'll win.
How long can you talk to one of those stopwatch wielders before your eyes just begin to glaze over and you look at your watch?
I got my world record this week, 14 seconds.
Yeah. I'd be a seller. Brennan, what's your view here? Do you think your firm are being reckless over Harzand?
No, I think the prices, they look a bit right to me. I think he should be favoured. The interesting thing about Harzand is the trip he had in the Derby. I don't think this has been picked up on. I mean, he got into a barging match with one of Aidan's coming down the hill. He was 3 and 4 wide the whole way. There is an argument, well, I would make the argument that he had a worse trip than US Army Ranger, who was in the right place. All right, he had to wait for a gap about a furlong and a half down. But I think that Harzand had a pretty tough trip and will confirm the form. But there are plenty of people who think US Army Ranger didn't have to get the greatest ride in the world, and given how much he came forward from Chester, will come forward and beat him in the Irish Derby. And of course they have Aidan on their side.
They're wrong. They're wrong.
I agree with you, but it would be interesting to see how the betting goes. Maybe not fascinating, but definitely
I'm now fascinated.
Okay,
and also this weekend, Northumberland Plate. What are they racing this on these days? Concrete, Tapita, is it? Or have we still got some grass left up there? I think
no grass, Bruce. No grass, unfortunately. It's the old it's all weather up there, isn't it?
Is it really? Blimey, O'Reilly. How times change. Brendan, how are you betting on this?
Unfortunately, we're not betting on it, Bruce. I know I told you earlier, but I was confused at the time.
Oh, well, never mind. Don't worry. That's the first time I've ever known you to be confused. Right, OK, well, we will certainly have some prices and some expert views on the Northumberland Plate, the Irish Derby, and all the rest of the weekend action when you join us for Friday's Racing Postcast.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They pay more extra places than any other bookie.